Hello everybody, welcome to the Red Devil Experience. My name is Eric. Hope everybody is doing well. We got the latest Manchester United news. We're going to be talking today about Joshua Zirkzee, potential loan exit from the club in January. We're also going to be talking about Angelo Stiller. We got some updates about him. This coming off the bat from yesterday from Jason Wilcox's interview, talking about that United need to invest and that they are going to invest. So potentially, I think there is on the cards for at least one January signing to come in, maybe with a couple other loans. We're going to see to that. It's also Football Friday, so we're not just going to talk United. We are going to do United, but we're going to do the news. We're going to do a little bit of a Forest versus United preview. We're going to go over some of the team streaks and stats and a little bit of an outlook. And then on top of that, it's Friday freestyle, Football Friday, whatever you guys want to talk about, you get it in the chat and we will discuss it and we will talk about it. So it's going to be a good show. Please make sure you smash the like button. Also, happy Halloween, but please make sure you smash the like button. And if you're new and you enjoy the content, we welcome you to our family. Welcome to the community. Get involved. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid. Leave a comment down below after the show has aired, if you're watching it after the show has aired. And we're also trying to get to 3,500 subscribers. We're on our way. We're at 3,230. So it's going to be a great show. I'm going to jump in. Footy Versus here, 69, says, hey, Eric, how are you? I'm good, buddy. How are you doing? And Lyles here says, hey, Eric and all you Reds. How is everybody doing? How's everybody feeling? If you got any thoughts, if you got any opinions you want put out there, get them in the chat. I will get to them in just a couple minutes, but I'm going to go ahead and start with this Joshua Zirkzee update, because we did talk about him a little bit yesterday with the whole Mano update, and they are sort of in the same camp. They're both at a lack of minutes. I would say Joshua Zirkzee is way more at a lack of minutes than Kobbie Mainoo is. At least Kobbie Mainoo has been consistently getting about 20 minutes a match. Zirkzee has barely featured, and I think last match was like the first time he's gotten like any minutes so far. So there is updates about this from Ben Jacobs and some other sources as well. So one of the updates is, if Zirkzee does depart, there's room to add a striker in January again if the right target presents itself, and fullback is still there too. That's coming from Ben Jacobs. I have a bigger update about it. Where is it? I lost it all. Okay, here we go. Joshua Zirkzee's potential January loan move. Manchester United, 42.5 million euro. Summer signing, Joshua Zirkzee from Bologna has struggled for minutes under Ruben Amorim this season, sparking loan interest ahead of the January window. Current situation, the 23-year-old Dutch forward has made just 5 substitute appearances in the Premier League this season, totaling 142 minutes. That's very low. With no goals or assists, he's been displaced solely because we don't have enough matches, and there is Sesko. So, and we have Mbeumo and Cunha as well now. So he wants to get, just like Mano, he wants more minutes. He wants to get into the World Cup squad for the Netherlands. And there is interest in Joshua Zirkzee. We talked a little bit about it. I think there's some interest from West Ham. But there's also interest outside of the Premier League, as AS Roma have shown strong interest in a January loan, as reported by Italian outlet Gazzetta dello Sport. With United open to sanctioning a temporary exit to aid his development, AC Milan is also monitoring, viewing him as a versatile option for their attack. In the Premier League, West Ham is reportedly leading the race, with Zirkzee pushing for a move to reignite his career. No permanent transfer is on the table. United's contract runs until 2029, and they see a loan as a way to preserve his value. United's position on this is that the club is prepared to allow a loan, but has no intention of selling outright this window, per sources close to negotiations. Amorim has praised Zirkzee's training attitude, but emphasized patience. Talks with the player and his camp are expected soon, especially as interest from clubs like, West Ham grow and others. Listen, about this Zirkzee thing. Again, I think he's probably one that seems a lot more likely to go over Mainu. I think the club, there is a difference here. There is a difference here. The club and Amorim don't want don't want Kobbie Mainoo to go. They want to keep Kobbie Mainoo. But they are more than happy to let ZIRKZEE go out on loan. And I think that's because of the dynamic of the situation at the club. And what that means is, when you look at ZIRKZEE, I still think there's many of us that probably would say we rate him more as a 10 than as a 9. But the 10s and the way the 10s are playing, specifically Mbeumo's side as a 10, he's more of a winger and then cuts inside. Matheus Cunha's 10, while he does go wide, he's a lot less wide normally than Mbeumo's 10, and he's more sort of on the inside, which you would say that's where maybe ZIRKZEE would fit in, but he wouldn't fit in on the Mbeumo part because he can't do the job on the wing. So he's already limited there a little bit. We also have a bunch of options at 10. But if you look at it, there's 2 players in the midfield. There's 2 backups. There's Ugarte and Mainoo. In the 10, it's quite different. And when I look at it, it just feels like Joshua ZIRKZEE is way down a longer list and further away from a chance than probably Kobbie has to get, you know, in some minutes or play or potentially start. So I think this loan will probably happen. Again, I think we're going to have to take a little bit more time towards when we get to January, because I think when you get in and around January, when you get the players like Mbeumo and Maz, and Ahmad going on AFCON and going away, it depends on how Ruben is going to decide how to sort of reshape the starting squad or the squad itself. It depends in what direction he goes. It depends in what players he's going to select in terms of, you know, Mbeumo's going to be out. You would say, well, he'll probably go with sort of a Mount and Acuna. You know, Diallo's not going to be there. You're going to have to bring in Delo is going to have to slot into the wing back, or maybe Mazawari goes there. But Diallo not being there is another option that's taken away from being in the 10, because he can play there as well if you need him to. So there's going to be a little bit of a reshuffling, and I think that's going to determine what's actually going to happen with Kobbie Mainoo and Joshua ZIRKZEE. I think for Joshua ZIRKZEE, I think probably the loan is probably the best option for Joshua ZIRKZEE. I think I think in terms of when you look at the squad selection, he's probably going to be the one that's going to struggle the most for minutes, unless he decides to start playing him a lot more as a striker. But we have seen that Ruben Amorim does like, in certain matches, based on the, you know, opposition, he does like to, if he's not starting Benjamin Sesko, he does like to then put Matheus Cunha / Mount / Mbeumo up there, where they do sort of an alternating front 3, which is kind of push ZIRKZEE out of the frame a little bit more. Because again, I think if you have Acuna, Mount, and Mbeumo 3, it will operate quite different and is a different fluidity to it than if you have a ZIRKZEE, Cunha, and Mbeumo, for example, or Mount, or whoever you want to throw in there. So it does raise some questions, though, because you see how sort of, yes, we're at a lack of match options, or a lack of matches, but he has fallen significantly down the pecking order with the lack of options and the reinforcements that we have brung on. I just have this feeling that I can't really shake right now, and maybe it's just, you know, it's nothing. Maybe I'm just sort of overreacting to myself, but I sort of get this feeling in the dynamic that I'm looking at it, and that, you know what, maybe when we get to the summer, maybe ZIRKZEE is sold permanently. I don't know. Maybe he stays because we end up getting more matches and we're going to need a larger squad. I think that one is the biggest sort of factor that is going to have an impact on some players, you know, at the end of this season, going into next year and looking into next season. You know, where do we actually finish? If we get a European spot, then I feel like probably Zirkzee won't go, but maybe he does. I mean, it'll be sort of his second year, third year in, and I think Omar Barada, his famous quote is, you have to perform. You have to perform in 1 to 2 years of being at this football club. It's what they did at City. And if you don't, they push you out the door quite quickly and immediately. And I think that's, I mean, I agree with that because, one, it's about resale value. You don't want to do any more damage than you're doing. But also, we need players to perform. So, I don't know. You're going to look at Zirkzee's sort of 2 years in. This one is going to be... It's going to be affected by the fact that we don't have a lot of opportunities here at the football club at the current moment. Now, if we do send him on loan, which we should send him on loan, I think we should. I would go for a loan to West Ham. Now, I know West Ham are kind of shit, but I would prefer him to go to loan in a Premier League, in a Premier League team, to continue his adjustment and development to the Premier League. You know, if we're thinking about selling him, and only they know if they're going to sell him or not, like Wilcox, and, you know, what is the final play here? If they're thinking about selling him, then I guess a loan to Milan or, you know, whoever else the other Serie A team was that I forgot already, I guess wouldn't be a bad move, because maybe you loan them out there with an option to buy. If they like him and he does well, you could get that done fairly quickly. But if we're not planning to sell him and let him go permanently, I would like him to go to a Premier League team so that he can continue to adjust to life in the Premier League and gain more Premier League experience. You know, if he's going to stay with us, we do play in the Premier League week in, week out. You do need him to continue playing Premier League football. So those are sort of the two options that we find ourselves at. Ray is here. And Lyle says we good, and we are good. Excuse the dog. The dog likes to bark when I do the live show. The dog is a new addition to the house, so we did not have a dog previously, so we are dealing with the dog. He is barking at who knows what, but I'm sure you could hear him in the background. Footyverse says Eric has a terrible breakup today, so I have written something. Please do read. He was online, she was online, he did not text, she did not text, Ego won, but Liverpool lost again. Well, I'm sorry if you had a bad breakup today, but you know what, these things do happen in life, and in due time you will move past it, and you will move on, and you know, you will probably find something better. That's how the life tends to go. You know, one door closes and another one opens. So you know, in due time, you'll be all right. You'll be all right, buddy. Don't worry about it. Rajat says, hi, do you think Juve will win the title? Well, save it for, you know, a little bit of the back end of the show. I want to get through the United stuff first, and we'll come back. He says it was a joke. I didn't have an actual breakup. All right. Well, fair enough. I can't tell if you guys... I wanted to be sympathetic. I didn't want to really make a joke out of it. I kind of felt like it was a joke, but I don't want to be that guy that makes a joke out of something that you were being serious. So, okay. I you know, the Liverpool lost again thing kind of had me thinking it was a joke, but I was like, maybe you were just trying to cheer yourself up. So, fair play. But yeah, I mean, for Joshua Zirkzee, I think we probably, I think we got to loan him out. I don't know. I feel the agenda. I don't know if agenda is the right word, but I feel the biasness. There you go. I feel the biasness a little bit in me because, again, Kobe is my son. I try to do very much so to not be Player FC, but I do like him very much and I back him. And I just don't know why, but I just want Kobe to stay. And I want Kobe to fight because I believe in Kobe. And I think there is probably, I don't know, I feel like on the surface there might potentially be an opportunity there bubbling on the surface that he can get in there. I don't know. I really back him. I think he could get in there. It is going to be very tough, but I'd like to see him stay and put in the work. But I think with Zirkzee, I think when you look at the situation, I just feel like there's very limited opportunities there. And there is sort of a question mark over him. So I think you can loan out ZIRKZEE. But I think if you're gonna loan out Mainu, then we do need to get cover for Mainu, because again, whether you agree with it or not, we only have 4 midfielders, and yeah, we're playing 1 match a week, but we're gonna be playing about 1.5 or whatever coming around when the FA Cup comes. We're gonna have an extra match involved. So, and also if you look at that midfield, I mean, 1 injury to Casemiro or a suspension. Somebody's going to have to come in and we're going to be down to 1 sub. So we do need to have the numbers there. We do have to have the backups. I mean, we have to have the depth there. And right now we have a decently good enough, it's a good enough depth. Yeah, we have 2 starting midfielders, 2 backups. If we let Maino go on loan, we're going to have to bring somebody else in, because we can't be short like that, because God forbid we get an injury or 2. And you just never know with football. I mean, literally, knock on wood, but we could go into a match and Cass could get a red card and Bruno can break his leg. And we're screwed. You know what I mean? So we got to have the options there. But talking about options, there is a Conor Gallagher sort of update, because Conor Gallagher is one that has been sort of talked about that, he can potentially come in January. He is sort of a midfielder that has the profile that can go into Ruben Amorim's system. There's a couple different options for midfielder in Ruben Amorim's system that you can go for and kind of do a pairing with. Conor Gallagher being like the more pressing and sort of box-to-box type of player. He is very good at tackling. He has a very high tackle success rate, offensively and defensively. So, and he has been mentioned again, and I'm just looking for the update from Ben Jacobs surrounding Conor Gallagher. I did have it. I'm very unorganized today, so bear with me, because things did not go the way that I needed them to go when I was making the show. And I took too much time than I was supposed to. So bear with me while I find this Ben Jacobs update. So Ben Jacobs, give me, where is the Conor Gallagher? Okay, so here we go. Ben Jacobs on Conor Gallagher to United in January is still on the cards. This is what he was asked, and he said, I think so. Gallagher's probably the most likely because he's the most feasible, and anyone else they might have to either overpay for or have the player really agitate for the move. So I think when you're talking about transfers, I think Stiller, and we're going to get to Stiller in a minute, I think Stiller is one that's not going to be done in January. But if you want a January deal, Conor Gallagher seems to be like the one that is the most likely because it is the most feasible. It's the easiest. It'll be the quickest. There is sort of a willingness for it to happen. To get Stiller, I don't think they want to really sell Stiller in the middle of the season. I don't know if Stiller would be, wants to move in the middle of the season. He might want to just complete his season and then move in the summer. It's a lot more of a headache. But again, if Conor Gallagher is a loan in, again, I'm all for these. I'm okay if United do a couple loan deals in the January. It's better than not doing anything. We can't do nothing. And I will respect the club's standpoint that, we have a bunch of targets. They're unavailable in January. So we're not going to go out there and sign some, D option or E option that's really down the list because we can get them and we can't get the other ones. We got to wait till the summer. I would rather you do and look at the loan market, which is very feasible and very good in January. And there's always a deal to do in the loan market in January. It's the easiest way, and you can do it. And we've done it once with Amrabat, and I thought even what's his name from the German league that we got in, Sabitzer, and I thought, you know what, that went pretty well. It wasn't the greatest, but you know what, it helped us out. Thank God we did it because we needed it. Because of what happened after that, we suffered some more injuries, and we needed those players. If we didn't have them, I think Amrabat wasn't in January. Sorry, but Sabitzer. But yeah, we needed those players. So I think again this would be a good move, and it's not something that we have to. I kind of like the loans because it's sort of like a test drive. Yeah, it's sort of like when you go buy a new car, it's like a test drive. Like you're not purchasing the car, you haven't purchased the car. You're gonna go drive the car. You're gonna go see how it feels. You're gonna see how it is. And there's no sort of like real commitment to it. If you like the car, then you could go ahead and buy it if you want. If the car doesn't drive the way you expected it to, or you don't like the way it feels, or whatever it is, then you don't have to buy the car. And that's kind of like with Conor Gallagher. Like I think there is potential for him to fit in Ruben's system. I think there is sort of a good idea behind it in terms of the way he plays football and what he can bring. But we don't have to necessarily commit to it. And, you know, he has Premier League experience playing at Chelsea in the past. So I think it's a good sort of move. And, you know, he could come in, and if he plays well for United, then we can do a deal like a normal football club and go in and buy him permanently. And you know, we'll be sort of 6 months ahead in that one because he'll come in, he'll get adjusted to United and the system. And if it performs well, then good. We're 6 months ahead in that aspect. And that's one midfielder down, and then we'll go in for another midfielder. Uncle Cass will go, and we'll say we'll say our goodbyes to him. And we'll look to get somebody else in. So, yeah. Footyverse says ZIRKZEE I don't think is going to be with us ever again. West Ham will probably get relegated, and ZIRKZEE will surely not play for them. Instead, send him to Roma. At least they will have a test drive. Well, maybe so, but I don't know. ZIRKZEE's situation is a little bit, I don't know. It brings up a lot of questions for me. It just seems like he's really, really not wanted, but is, again, it's a bit weird, but it is sort of the way that Amorim kind of moves. In certain ways. I mean, he is a bit ruthless in that aspect. I think it is smart, and I don't think some fans might not like it because they kind of see it as, I don't know, what's the word, snakish, or just, you know, messed up. I don't know, but I do think from his standpoint as a manager trying to manage a team, it is the way you kind of got to go about it. You kind of have to have a balance. I mean, you might be stuck with this player. You can't totally alienate them. You can't totally bin them. You can't totally tell them to F off if you don't know 100%, you know, what's the certainty around their future. Because if they end up staying and they end up not going, well, now you just have a player that is totally going to be disruptive to the chemistry and to the, you know, the ecosystem at the club. So you can't totally just not work with them. Also, I think the players understand to a certain level, like, this is football, things happen. So as long as he's like balanced about it in terms of like, listen, there's just no room for you, but you know, I will try to give you opportunities, but you got to be patient, which is basically what he's basically telling them. And then when it comes down to it, you know, if there is a way for a move to happen, he will then just walk up to them basically and be like, thank you for your services and all the best in the future, and then move on. So, we will see, because I think if we have European football next season, we're going to need a larger squad. And when we have a larger squad, we're going to need the likes of ZIRKZEE. Unless they want to get sell ZIRKZEE and get a different player. Maybe they use the funds for the midfield. Maybe they don't need ZIRKZEE. Maybe they go and get a different striker. Because ZIRKZEE always seems like, I don't think he's a bad player, but ZIRKZEE always seemed like he was sort of a Ten Hag signing more than sort of, what Ineos have been kind of going for. He did fit Ineos's sort of specifications of what they're looking for. I mean, he is on the younger side when we signed him, 22, and stuff like that. But it just seems like that. I always just felt like that ZIRKZEE signing was more specifically tailored to Ten Hag's system, and Ten Hag's sort of formation and way of playing. And Ten Hag is obviously no longer the manager, and we have Ruben Amorim, and we've obviously gone in a different direction. So, but I thought he did play quite well last season for Ruben. So, I don't know. I'm a bit lost on it. I am. I'm a bit lost on it. I can't tell you in which way it's really going to tip. What's Football Friday without a little bit of chaos? Yeah. Especially on Halloween. I mean, it is Halloween, the day of chaos. Stuker, Footy says Stuker will not let Stiller leave in January. They have a very good chance of being second and claim UCL football for next season. Most probably they will sell him in the summer. Well, that's where we're sort of heading to, and I will get to Stiller. Let's move to Stiller real quick. But just before we do that, I mean, there has been some updates. There's been a lot of updates around the midfield. So actually, let me hit Stiller first. And Vivell is one. We've talked about Vivell many times. Again, I personally think, not to say that Jason Wilcox is bad, I just personally think that Vivell is a very smart guy, and I think Vivell is going to play a very influential role at this football club, and I think Vivell is sort of going to be similar to, if you're not familiar, there is a man named Michael Edwards at Liverpool. Now, obviously, Michael Edwards is running the show at Liverpool, and Vivell is not necessarily running the show, because that's Wilcox's job, is to run the show now. But I think Vivell, so far, coming in and being involved in the transfers, I think he's done very well. If you go and look at Vivell's record in terms of player identification, what he did when he was at Red Bull, it's very excellent. The list looks very good in terms of who he was bringing in very early on before other people were catching on, and what those players have sort of become into. And we got an update, because there's been a lot of stories about Stiller, there's been a lot of stories about Baleba, there's been a lot of stories about Wharton, and there's been a lot of stories about the Nottingham Forest player. So one of the updates that we got is that, and this all ties into each other. So Vivell is apparently he really likes Angelo Stiller, a name that Manchester United have been monitoring for quite some time, but they never moved because there was never a realistic possibility of getting him to leave last summer. January is going to be difficult as well, and then obviously next summer, a lot will actually depend on whether that release clause still exists or whatever the buyout is taken. At the moment, all indications are that Manchester United are going to be patient with Stiller, continue to watch him, and then assess it a little bit later this year or early next year, knowing that firing anything crazy or unexpected, nothing there is going to be possible mid-season. So yeah, Stiller is not going to happen in January. Conor Gallagher is one that we could look to do. I will say that I do believe, based off of Jason Wilcox's comments yesterday from his interview, we will do at least one deal in January. I don't know if it'll be permanent or not. I kind of feel like we should be doing, if we can, if there is availability, we should definitely be doing a permanent deal in January, at least one in one specific location, whether that is a wing back or I think the midfield is going to be quite difficult, but maybe a wing back, sort of like we did with Dorgu. But we're going to do something in January for sure. I would say that the club should be looking to do a permanent deal in January 1, and then maybe 1 to 2 loans, if warranted, if need be. And this is, kind of goes into the whole Manu thing and Zirkzee as well. Ben Jacobs goes on to say, it remains to be seen whether or not Stiller is at the top of Man United's targets due to an uncertainty of the profile of player the club would want with Manu. Casemiro and Ugarte's futures are unknown. With Manu, Casemiro and Ugarte's futures unknown. And this is the thing, we really have to sort out. I mean, we do have a mess in the midfield because, I mean, we all expect Casemiro to go, but he is playing well. I mean, you never know. There could always be a chance that United offer him a new contract, but on particularly very lower wages. Would Cass accept that? Would he keep it? I mean, we're all expecting him to go. We're all expecting him, this is his last year. And also, I think it's right to move on. Yeah, if we're going to do Project 150, if we're going to go forward with the future, I mean, Casemiro has been a good servant for what we got him for and his age. Again, the wages we pay him is not his fault, and the transfer fee is not his fault. We are just, very dumb. We were very dumb. Then there's obviously Mainu, and again, I think Mainu. I think there's just a lot of extra hype bullshit around Mainu because it's Mainu. He's English, and fans love him, and it's easy to get clicks on it. I will be very surprised if Kobe Mainu ends up somehow, for whatever reason, not staying at this football club. I don't believe that Ruben or the club look at Kobe Mainu and don't think that he is definitely one for the future. And I think that Kobe doesn't have attitude problems in terms of I don't think there's going to be a situation where Kobe goes out of his way to disrespect the club, disrespect the manager, make shitty Instagram posts like some of the other players have. I don't think he's one to sort of make behind the scenes act like a dickhead. I don't think he's going to do that. So I don't think there should be any issues there on that front where the club would be like, you know what, it's unfortunate because Kobe has a lot of potential and we like his ability, but his attitude is a problem. And that's why Garnacho's not here. And that's why Rashford is gone. And that's why other players are gone or are going as well. So, they've made it a very clear that, and then Jason Wilcox said this yesterday, it's not only about your ability, it's do you have the right characteristics to be at this football club? You need to be able to handle pressure. You need to have the right mentality. You have to have the right attitude. You need to come into this football club ready to go. I think Maino has those things. I think he's just a little bit down because he's sort of lost his spot and he's not in the England squad and he really wants to get into the World Cup. So, those are the hiccups. I don't think he's pulling a Paul Pogba in terms of that, give me a contract and play me all the time, or I'm going to leave this football club on a permanent basis. So I don't think we really need to worry about that. But I agree, Footyverse. I don't think Stuttgart is not going to let Stiller leave. And Stiller will be one that, obviously, from these updates, this is what we're getting, that he will be one for the summer. But, Ben Jacobs also gave his updates just about Casemiro, on whether Casemiro would stay. And he said that he believes so. He said that he also thinks that Casemiro might put forwards. I also think that Casemiro might put forwards, if his form warrants it, to just trigger the option as well. And Manchester United have to financially determine if that's in their interest on the field for the extra year at that number, and also off the field as far as PSR is concerned. Because I think there is a 1-year contract extension in his deal. Like, we have an option for 1 extra year. Now, I will say that him being on that wage there's no way that fits into what Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos have been trying to do. I mean, all the high earners, especially if they've been underperforming, they've been out. Now, Casemiro is performing quite well, so he's technically not necessarily underperforming, but he, we've highly overpaid. Yeah, we've gave him too much money. I mean, it's not his fault, and Ineos didn't do it. So we are in this predicament. Again, the experience is important, and having a player like Casemiro who's won everything in your club it's not a bad thing to have. It's not a bad thing to necessarily keep around. And it's a little bit similar to Maguire. Like, again, if you have these guys as squad players, it's not the end of the world. People very overly overreact because all of a sudden you keep a Maguire, you keep a Casemiro in your squad as a squad player, and now all of a sudden, oh no, we're not signing this position now because this guy's here, or this player, their development's going to be stunted because this dinosaur is staying here, or whatever it is. And I think it's always total overreaction, because if we're playing a lot of matches and you need a big squad, and there's different squad roles and squad dynamics. Like, keeping Maguire around, and I agree, Maguire should not be starting every match. I don't think he fits well for every match. But again, I think having Maguire around, because he's been here at this club, he's experienced, he can help this sort of plan that's going through, in terms of that we are signing young players. And Casemiro is the same. He can help young players that come to this football club. I mean, he's been through it all. I mean, he's been at Real Madrid. He's now at United. he can help them adjust to life. He can give them experience, and help them through. And you need that dynamic in a team. People totally overrate that dynamic. They totally overlook it. I catch flack for saying this thing. I catch flack for saying that it's not bad to keep Maguire as a squad player, because of what he's been through and how he's come out on the other side. But I think it is important. So, yeah, it was Weghorst. ZIRKZEE was thoroughly replaced by Cunha and Mbeumo. I'm more worried about the lack of support for Dorgu at the moment. Support in what way, Lawrence Berry? What do you mean lack of support for Dorgu? And Lawrence also says Ruben didn't appreciate the comparison with J.K. Simmons and Whiplash. I think they've had a long-term falling out. Well, I don't know about that. But Ben Jacobs was also asked about Bruno Fernandes leaving, and he said, yeah, there is a release clause in theory, but timing is everything with it, and if it isn't triggered in time, he's on the market at a number that Manchester United will feel will be worthwhile. Now, I'm confused, because as far as I knew, before he said these words, I was not aware that Bruno Fernandes has a release clause. And I can't find more information on that. But he also went on to say midfielders leaving. He said, my gut feeling, speaking to sources as well, is that you won't get that mass exodus. So if they think Bruno's going to go, you're more inclined to extend Casemiro. If Casemiro departs, you're more inclined to fight to keep Bruno. If Kobe Mainoo goes, Manuel Ugarte stays. They're not just going to open the door and let four walk. I don't know. We're not letting four midfielders walk. I don't know who is coming up with. I think the fans have gone a little bit overboard if they're thinking that's what's going to happen. I think there is a potential for two to go. But when you do look at that sort of midfield dynamic, I mean, again, Cass is on sort of his, that's it. And Kobe, there's question marks over his future, even though I think there really shouldn't be, because he's a young guy and there's a lot of career left in front of him. So just because you're not starting at 20 doesn't mean that you won't be starting at 21 or 22. Plus, there's a vacancy opening up from Cass. And also, Bruno, I mean, he could potentially leave in the summer, maybe, if that's what they decide. And also, I mean, he's, what is he? He's 31? He's 31? I mean, so there's only a few years left of him as well. And if we play more football, we're going to need more players. So, and just even on Carlos Baleba hasn't started the season in the same form as last campaign. There's no indication that he's falling into that Evan Ferguson style category, where in a heartbeat he goes from a £100 million pound player to somebody loaned or potentially sold. Brighton still feel come the end of the season, Baleba will be settled and consistent and will be worth well in excess of £100 million. But they've not given a price to anything, because that's not how they rate. Wharton is enjoying life at Crystal Palace. We don't know his price or availability until ultimately those talk between Wharton and Palace take place. Is he going to sign a new deal? And like Antoine Semenyo, could there be a release clause in it? But if everything stayed as is, and Palace were not able to get Wharton to sign a new deal, then I come back to my previous reporting, which is I'm told there is a kind of gentleman's agreement that Wharton can leave for a Champions League club for somewhere in the region of £60 million. But I stress again, Champions League club. So that one may be potentially that, we have to get into Europe. Champions League specifically. I mean, Ben Jacobs has given us a lot today. Saying ZIRKZEE leaving in January, Roma are the leading candidate. There's a strong I would say possibility that Evan Ferguson will be sent back from Roma to Brighton. That's kind of bad for him. And then Roma will move for Zirkzee. West Ham is a strong possibility. They'll definitely add a striker on January 100%. And then you have PSV. I think Lille would come into the conversation depending on how their season is going. So there is a lot of interest for Zirkzee. So I do probably expect him to move at some point. Lyle says, yeah, the clause was revealed a few days ago, according to The Sun, which isn't the most credible, but okay. From next summer, Fernandes can be bought for just £57 million by clubs outside of England. Well, that's a shitty clause. Who put that one in there? I don't like that clause. I don't like that at all. I think that's shit. Because we just passed up the opportunity to sell him for $100 million. In terms of, I mean, he didn't want to go, but we didn't really want to sell him. And then there is a clause that we get to let him go for half, for 60. Because again, if I'm letting Bruno go, I want the most money possible so that we could really rebuild. Apparently it's a secret clause. Remember, old regime gave Bruno the new contract. Yeah. Fucking idiots. Dumbasses. Dumbasses. They screwed us yet again. And this is what I'm saying. This is why everything that we are doing right now, and that's why no matter who comes into this football club, it's still going to take 3 to 4 years to get to go to where we want to go, and make the significant changes and actually be better. Because shit like this, I mean, that's from the previous regime. And, you know, they gave him that contract, when was that, 2-3 years ago or something like that? And now we're going to have to deal with it in the present time, and we're going to have to deal with sort of the consequences of that. So, I don't know, but that's kind of quite crazy. So, I mean, imagine we just do a total midfield revamp, and I guess that's why fans are talking about this, because if Bruno has a release clause, and Casemiro's contract is going to expire, and then Ugarte, there seems to be question marks about him because he was Ruben's player, but he's not like, you know, Cass is being picked over him, so clearly Amorim rates Cass over Ugarte, so there seems to be question marks about Ugarte, and I remember a story right in the beginning of September, that they were thinking about maybe letting him go, but they needed him to stay because we needed to keep the options. We didn't have options. We needed to have the 4 midfielders. And then there's Maino. I mean, I don't know how we've sort of ended up in the situation where now there's potential question marks over all 4 of our midfield options, and no one seems to be certain who's actually going to stay and who's actually going to go. For me, personally, Kobbie Mainoo is completely out of the question. Yeah, like if I'm in charge, there's no question marks over Kobbie Mainoo in terms of permanently leaving this football club. There's just no way you do that. There's just no reason for it. And again, Project 150, go and win this cup, and the players that you're bringing in and scouting on the younger side, I mean, he is the guy. Like, I will not, and I will say this now, I will not accept this football club selling Kobbie Mainoo. So if they do it, there's nothing that they can justify unless Kobbie goes on like social media and tells United and Ruben Amorim to go fuck themselves or something like that in that sense. But there's nothing that they can say to justify if they ever get rid of Kobbie Mainoo. It is totally like hypocritical in what they are doing. Because if Kobbie Mainoo was a player and his name was, I don't know, give him a French name, and he's a French player and he plays for Lille, yeah? At his age, we would be looking to bring him in. We would be looking to buy him in and bring him to the football club. We already have him. So there's no reason to get rid of him. I mean, again, he's a young guy. He is the future. for here. He's got at least another 10 years in him, plus. So it would make no sense to get rid of him. It would make sense to get rid of Casemiro because he's on super high wages and he's getting older and he's old and his contract's going to expire. Makes sense. Ugarte, you can, I think Ugarte you would probably keep maybe as a squad player, still trying to fight for his place. But I guess it depends how he performs going over. And then Bruno is always the question of, preferably for me, I think he's an important player. But if you get an offer for good money, I still think then you have to do sort of a calculated risk in that you're getting good enough money and then you rebuild this midfield or you use it to rebuild the midfield into more of what we need. Because again, Bruno playing in the midfield, I think right now where he is sort of a temporary sort of fix. Because in those two positions, he's not exactly what that position calls for. He's decently good enough where I think in a season where we're not playing Champions League and we're playing once a week, we're probably going to be able to get away with it. Yeah. But in terms of somebody that actually fits that position, like an exact match and is exactly what we need for that, like a specialist in that position, he's not really that guy. There are players out there that fit that role a lot stronger and have a lot more of a stronger fit to it. So if that's the way you're going to go, then I think you would make the argument that you can look to get Bruno out and you can let Cass go, and you got Kobe, and you got Ugarte. And you get two in, and you go from there, and maybe a Stiller. I mean, Stiller is a guy, and I had sort of a write-up on here. I mean, Stiller is a guy. He's 24 years old. All right? I don't know when his birthday is, but 24, probably going on to 25, by the time we would get him. He is 6'4", so he's massive, yeah? He's huge, which is good for the Premier League. It's good for the Premier League. Height, strength, tall, presence in the midfield, for sure. And we could use a little bit of that. And he excels as a deep-lying playmaker with a 91% pass accuracy, 2.2 tackles per game, has a strong aerial presence, and played a pivotal role in Stuttgart's top 4 Bundesliga finish a couple seasons ago. And again, as a deep-lying playmaker, we do need one of those positions. So I think he goes in there for him. I mean, he has apparently some sort of a release clause about 50 million euros or something like that. I think that's not even bad. I mean, I think that's like, we didn't go to pay for it. He is seen as a partner for Kobe Mainoo, addressing Casemiro's declining mobility. So if you're going to get Stiller, that's the answer there. Stiller is the replacement for Cass. I think that's perfect because I think he can do what Casemiro does, which is Casemiro does quite well on both sides of the fence, both sides of the pitch, attack and defense. Cass is decently good at progressive passes forward out of the, playing up and connecting the defense and the attack. Stiller has the legs more than Cass does, and he's 24. So, one that can be around for the next 6 to 8 years for Manchester United. Kobe is the future. Bruno will be here maybe for a year or two more. I mean, his contract only has a couple more years in it anyway, and he is getting older. And you have Kobe Mainoo. And you would have Kobe Mainoo with a couple more years under his belt, a little bit more experience. You have Stiller, who's a little bit older than him, will have the experience. And we move on from there. So, hopefully it's a minimum type deal, like Bruno cannot leave for less than X amount. I don't know about that. I wouldn't put it for them. I wouldn't give them that much credit, Lyle. If it's coming from the old regime, they are just stupid and really bad. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's just how they put it in, that, at this moment in time, at that point, once you hit that point, then that's what he can go for. Lawrence Berry says, there seems to be a lot more 6s than 8s on that midfield target list, so we assume Bruno wants to stay as an 8, and then we only have the option of Baleba as a new 8, or keeping Kobe on. Well, I think there's more 6s because I think that they, again, I think there's a bit of speculation because Cass is playing well right now, but I think in the correct terms for the football club, it's time to let Cass go. It's time to let him go, and move forward. Yeah, it's time to let him go and move forward and move on. So there's a lot more 6s because I think, again, I don't think Ruben wants to sell Bruno. I don't think the club are particularly interested in selling Bruno because, again, I think they both deem him and look at him as sort of a very important player. And they don't want him to go. And I don't think Bruno necessarily wants to go. So, I mean, things can change. But going off of what we just went through, that's sort of where we are. In that Ruben wants him to stay, Bruno wanted to stay, and the club didn't actually want to sell him. So unless something changes down the line, then it seems like Bruno, that's where he's going to stay. Because Bruno is not going to magically appear next season as a 10 again. This is the plan that we've done. This is the plan that we've moved forward with. And this is Bruno is going to play as this 8. So really, we need a 6. And Menu is the 8 in training, I guess. With the potential to get more opportunities next season if we're in Europe. So we'll have more games. So we need the 6. And then I guess it comes down to the question mark over, is it just paper talk to Ugarte may potentially be sold or whatever? It's quite interesting. I don't know. We need more clarification. We need more of an indication. And it's a little bit difficult to gauge because of this season. Because again, I think if you get into Europe and you're playing more games and you need a larger squad, the dynamic changes completely compared to now, There's always this point that people are like, Ugarte was Ruben's player. And so there's always this thinking of you would feel like that Ugarte would be Ruben's favorite. But he's not really playing him a lot, or he's just not, he's not able to start over Casemiro. So many people take that as, well, he doesn't really rate Ugarte anymore, and actually he might be looking to get him out. And again, there's also then the other aspect that you have to remember that Ugarte, if I'm not mistaken, please somebody tell me, but I'm pretty sure Ineos did not sign Ugarte, did they? So he's also not an Ineos signing. And when you look at the people like Wilcox, and you look at Omar Barada, and sort of this, you have 1 to 2 years to impress, or we will move you on, and they didn't make that signing, they might actually be looking him to get him out. And if Ruben isn't 100% impressed with him, then he might agree with them to get them out. So, Ugarte is an Ineos. Oh, he is an Ineos sign. I couldn't remember. It was the Ineos signing when they first came in the last year of Ten Hag. He came in with the Euro. Oh, well, so, I mean, maybe, all right, so forget what I just said about that, but maybe just the fact that, maybe they feel like he hasn't impressed in over 2 seasons, so they look to move him out. I don't know. There's a lot of speculation in this midfield. It's actually driving me quite crazy. And it's hurting my head, so I'm just going to move on to something else, because I'm going to drive myself crazy going in circles, yeah? There was a couple other things as well that I want. get to. One of the things that I want to talk about, and this is just, I guess, a little bit more general, but I don't know if you guys heard the news, but apparently Manchester United will be in action on Boxing Day, but our home game against Newcastle United is the only top-flight fixture on a day traditionally rich in football action. Manchester United's match with Newcastle United has been moved to Friday, 26 December, kicking off at GMT. Now, I will say this. As an American who has grown up with the Premier League and as a Manchester United fan, I am highly disappointed. I mean, I'm happy that United are the only, we're going to play on Boxing Day, but I'm highly upset and I'm highly disappointed that there's no Boxing Day fixtures. I always loved the Boxing Day fixtures. It's not an American culture thing, but I always loved it. I loved that there was games the day after Christmas. You're with the family. It's a holiday season. And I just always loved how that was a thing. I'm highly upset that there's no other Boxing Day fixtures. Like, yes, United's going to play and we're going to be the only ones, but I just think it's a disgrace that they're not going to have it this year. And I looked into it, and it's because of the Champions League format. This is what I found. So they're breaking from the long-standing tradition of a full slate of fixtures because the expansion of European club competitions like the Champions League, which forced a revision of the domestic calendar ahead of 24-25 season. So there's fewer available weekends. The league is now structured as a 33-weekend competition, down from previous seasons, despite still featuring 380 total matches. This squeeze makes it harder to fit the games around international breaks, cup competitions, including the FA Cup, weeks, and other commitments, with yada, yada, yada. The day of the week, Boxing Day 2025, falls on a Friday, and broadcast contracts limit Friday evening slots to just one Premier League game. A fuller program would require midweek fixtures that clash with recovery needs for other events. And then they're looking at player welfare. I'm sorry, I don't really give a shit. Boxing Day for the Prem, I mean, for me, it's always been a thing. For the older people, it's always been a thing. And I don't give a shit, really, what they want to tell us, but I just feel like it's a disgrace. I mean, the broadcasting thing is stupid because it's on a Friday. Broadcasting contracts limit Friday evening slots to just one Premier League game. I mean, that's where is like the humility in like tradition? They should make an exception or something. I don't know, but I just think that it's sad. It's sad. Yeah, because I always thought as a European American, because that's what I am. Born here and grown up here, yeah? We have our traditions in terms of, obviously, the NFL and the NBA are our main sports here, yeah? So NFL, you always have Thanksgiving, they got the games, yeah? And then you have basketball, they like to do NBA, they like to do the Christmas games, which is good. But I always loved the Premier League for the Boxing Day matches. I always thought it was really cool. And actually, it's a bit different because it's not on Christmas Day like we have it here, but it's like the day after. So it always filled up the schedule, you know what I mean? Because here we'd watch NBA on Christmas Day. You have something to throw on, you have something to watch with people, or you just let it go in the background, but it's there. And then the next day, it's full Premier League, and it's just like, it just adds to the holiday season. And the fact that it's not there, I just think it's shit, yeah? Ugarte, I hit that. Ray says it's time to move Bruno out and rebuild a new era. At some point, we have to, though. I would lean in the order of first Casemiro, Bruno second, and then that's it. Because again, Cass's contract is up and he's older. So first and foremost, let's move from Cass and let's get somebody like Stiller in there. And then whatever we got to do with Bruno, we got to figure that situation out. But Lawrence says, I guess they changed Boxing Day because of AFCON this year. It's not because of AFCON. It's because it falls on a Friday, and apparently there's a broadcasting contract limit for Friday evening slots where they can only play one Premier League game, where they can actually broadcast it. So, that's shit. And then also, because of this restructuring of the Champions League fixtures, all the schedules are tighter now because you have to cram in the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, and this new format of the Champions League has made everything tighter. And then they also, because of all those things, they also have to take care of the players because the Premier League is looking to avoid fatigue during the festive period, where the league has mandated longer rest intervals, so no club can actually play within 60 hours of another match between rounds in the Premier League 18, 19, and 20, further restricting options for a packed Boxing Day. I mean, I'm sorry, but, Boxing Day is just, a tradition. You just don't fuck with it. I just feel like you're making it less of the fans. You're taking something out of it. You're just taking something out of it that we always traditionally have and that people enjoy and like. And I just don't see. I don't know. Maybe there was nothing that you could be done, but they also say never, and I just feel like if I was in charge of the league, of trying, there's just no way that I would accept that there's no Boxing Day. We would have to do something else. Noting that Saturday lunchtime fixtures have disappeared, usually on TNT, formerly BT Sport, and replaced by this weird Saturday night graveyard match when I usually watch Spanish football. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just shit. I just saw that. Hey, at least we're playing, and I guess we could flip it into that's, now everybody gets to watch United versus Newcastle, and we would be one of the only ones to be, on the technically the Boxing Day slot because we are the biggest club and, we're the most talked about. So, I guess the positive is at the very least, United are playing on Boxing Day and we'll be able to watch our club traditionally play, and continue on the Boxing Day tradition. But, it's shit for the rest of the league, and the fans. So it sucks. It sucks that they did this. But there was a couple other things that I needed to hit on. Where are we? Oh yeah, Brian Mbeumo got Manchester United October Player of the Month award. So hopefully he goes and he gets the Premier League Player of the Month award. And I believe Harry Maguire won Manchester United Goal of the Month for his header/winner against Liverpool. So that's good. Sonny Lemons did a sort of an interview as well. And he was speaking, where is this? Because I lost this now. We're all over the place today. And Amorim also spoke a little bit as well. So, let me find this Sonny Lemons thing. So Sonny Lemons. Come on, somebody give me the full thing, man. Don't you guys are United accounts or what? So Sonny Lemons, they give me a piece of it. I know he said more. Alright, I'll just hit this real quick. So Sonny Lemons was asked on the biggest difference he has faced in the Premier League as a goalkeeper. He said set pieces. He said, I've never seen players get away with the mistakes they commit against the things they do to the goalkeeper. This is the nature of the Premier League, and you have to adapt to it and train for it, but it's a bad thing for any goalkeeper. It's interesting that he says that. Lyle says the Sonny Lemons interview was good. I want to kind of find the whole thing. Because I did read quotes here and there, and I did pick up some stuff from it. It's disappointing when you rely on these United accounts and they only give you, you know, what they think, I guess, is big enough for clicks. You know, just give us the full thing. Just give us the full thing so we can fucking read it in full. Don't give us the bit that you like the most and then ignore whatever else the other guy, what the guy says. So, Sunny Lemons also said something. Here we go. This guy's gonna give us the full one. Yes, he is. See? All right, here we go. So, yes, I got the full thing. Translated, but I got the full thing. Okay. Sunny Lemons. Here we go. Translated from French. Oh, this is a French account. Manchester United French. Is it on the Manchester United account, Lyle? That is an insult to the soccer pants from the Premier League. What do you mean by that? Fixer, eh? I don't know what that means. Lemon saying the last few weeks have gone very well. I got my chance at the right moment and I seized it. Sometimes all of this seems unbelievable. I'm trying to stay level-headed. I feel at home. He also said, yeah, we did that one about the biggest difference. He also then said, you know, there was never a strict plan for him in terms of, like, you know, when he came here, like, you know, this is how it's going to go for you and you'll get your opportunity here. There was no strict plan. He said, I was always told that the best goalkeeper would play. At the beginning, I had a bit of trouble adapting to training. The managers noticed it and gave me some time to adjust. The first match I played was the ideal opportunity for me. From there, everything went well, and I couldn't have imagined a better start. Again, so, you know, Ruben Amorim getting a little bit of credit there. And this is why I say he's not a stupid man, and he is not naive. So yeah, you know, Ruben being aware of things like that, and this is why I kind of try to say, like, see, they see the things behind the scenes that we don't see, yeah? And people were screaming for Sunny Lemons to come in immediately. Like, as soon as he signed, they were like, he's got to play and you got to bench Binder. But, I mean, Lemons is telling you here, like, I had a bit of trouble adapting to training. Like, he wasn't actually ready. And it was good that Ruben picked up on that. And Ruben probably wanted to play him. But Ruben is not going to risk the guy when, you know, it's a big ask. He's just come from over there. He needs time to adjust. He gave him the time. That's why Binder continued to play. So, you know, the fans like to jump on things, but we don't know everything. And this is why I try to hold this sort of line. We don't know. We only see them play a match once a week. We don't know what they're doing in training. We don't know what's going on. This is why I tend to put trust in this group, in this management. You know, if they're loaning a player out and he's a young guy, instead of using him, it's because they're not ready. And I trust them to read that and to have a proper plan. So, you know, at some point I expect them to get a fair shot and an opportunity. But if we're loaning out young guys, it's because it's in the benefit of them. And I would hope that that's what we're doing. We're doing the right things. And it goes the same for this. Like, Lemons was not ready to play. He's telling us himself he wasn't ready. I mean, he was struggling to adapt. Ruben picked up on it, gave him some more time, and it's worked out for everybody's benefit. I think the same is for the youth players when they push and they say, we're not giving the youth players, we're not giving them chances, we're not giving them opportunities, we should give them opportunities. I don't think that they're ready. I don't think that they're ready. We don't see them in training. We don't, you're picking up a 17-year-old, you're putting him in training. They might do well for a 17-year-old in training, but how are they doing against the men? How are they doing against the likes of Cunha and Buemo and Delit and others there? How are they doing against him? Are they actually ready to go and play a Premier League match? Are we going to throw them in there, and are they going to struggle? They're going to have a hard time. Are we going to destroy their confidence because they're fragile and they're kids? So I trust in this manager and his and the staff and the group that we have. I think they are taking the correct protocols. Are they going to get everything right? No, they'll make mistakes, but I don't think there's any malice in it. I don't think they're trying to. I don't think there's like some evil plot twist here. I think they're just trying to look out for the players and do a proper process. And when you do a proper process, it takes time. It takes time and patience. It's not. You can't rush these things. You can't accelerate these things. You can't cut corners. You have to do it by the book in the proper process. So, yeah. Lawrence Bird says expansion of European midweek has ended Saturday lunchtime, and I, for one, enjoyed the new fixture while it lasted. Ray says no soccer on Boxing Day. That's the biggest insult from the Premier League to fans. Yeah, I mean, Lyle has dropped the link here. Oh, there you go. Thank you. So now I have the full link, the full thing. So, Senny Lemons, interview here, speaking to the BBC, because he's had some things to say, and I think there were some big things here, and the way he handled the interview, I think, was quite good as well. So, he said, so he's speaking to the BBC before United's Premier League trip to Nottingham Forest. We do have to do the Forest, so we're going to get into that. Lemons did not give an impression of someone affected by self-doubt. He goes on to say, of course, you hear from other people there's a lot of pressure coming here and playing for this team, said the Belgian. But I welcome that. Firstly, it is nice you can play for such a big team. There should be a lot of pressure. I'm not really scared of it. I love that. I love that quote, and that's why I wanted to hit on this. He goes on to say, he was asked about the song because the chant of "Are you Schmeichel in disguise," which is what we've made up for him. And Lemon says, I don't listen to it too much during the game, but I saw it afterwards. He said, I'm not Schmeichel in disguise. I am just Senny Lemons trying to help the team. Love that. It is an amazing compliment to get, but you have to be realistic. He is one of the best goalkeepers ever. I have to prove a lot more to be in the same conversation as him. Absolutely you do. And that is the right mentality. And this is why it is important to get these players that have the right mentality and attitude. Just the couple responses. And it's about, you can answer these in a couple different ways, but I love the fact that he says there should be a lot of pressure here and that he's not scared of it. He's taking it head on. And that's what we need at this football club. We need players that understand that there is massive pressure here, and they need to be able to handle the pressure. This place is different than every other football club. It has its own special pressure, and it takes a special type of character to be at this football club. And if you don't have it, you will be crushed. And we've seen that many, many times. So, again, a good indication that when they were doing the scouting on this guy, not only is it the ability, but you could see in his characteristic as a human, he seems like he has what it takes to live here, to succeed here. And then even, to answer a question about Schmeichel, who is arguably one of the best goalkeepers ever and, Man United legend, it is, if you're him, it's nice to get, like he said, it's nice to kind of get that comparison, but he's so far away from that. He's got so much to do. And it's good that he's trying to keep himself level-headed about that, because he can't get an inflated head. He can't get an inflated ego. Let's just be honest. I'm happy he's here, and I'm happy with his introduction, but he's done absolutely nothing close to warrant any sort of comparisons to Peter Schmeichel. He's accomplished basically nothing compared to Schmeichel, so he's got a really long way. And just the fans are funny, and again, that's why I would say the fans can be as extravagant as they want and go as loco as they want because we're fans. We say crazy shit and we do crazy things. But the players have to not buy into that. And I think, again, the messaging from Ruben, the messaging from Jason Wilcox and everybody else, it's all across the board the same. And the players are getting it and they're understanding it. And I think even the players leading the group are giving the same message. Like, you're doing good, but you haven't done shit yet. Yeah? That's sort of the message. That's sort of the message that's going across. Like, well done on the win, but you haven't accomplished shit. And, you know, we haven't done anything yet. Like, you've done good to do a good part, but that, in the grand scheme of things, that means fuck all. We got more to do. So yeah, I think that they're doing a good job here keeping. You know, that's why sort of the atmosphere feels different in this team. It's the chemistry feels different. I think we are finally heading into a different sort of. We're actually getting a different mentality, and we're getting a different attitude as a group in the squad. So he goes on to say, you know, he talks about his own personal philosophy, which is important. And then he says, there has been a lot of talk about critics, but it's not about that. He said, it is about the way we play and the intensity. It is also about being realistic and knowing against Liverpool, it won't be the prettiest game in terms of build-up. It was more about being direct and playing for second balls. If we are high up on the pitch with the players we have, we can always make it difficult for the opponent. It is also not making it too difficult for ourselves. Building from the back can sometimes hurt you more than it helps. I have been trying not to make too many risky and trusting the qualities of the guys up front and in the midfield. Sometimes we need to get the ball there as fast as possible. Lemons feels like the link with his defense is key to success. Absolutely is, since earning the shirt. And Harry Maguire and Matheus de Ligt have made it a point of underlining what they expect. He goes on to say, they told me that I don't need to be the most amazing or special goalkeeper, just to be there in important moments to give the team trust. He said, it makes them more relaxed knowing someone is behind them who can help them. One of the key points as a goalkeeper is helping the defense with the communication. I am proud of being calm and collected, but when the time is needed, I can be harsh or shout at teammates. To have both characteristics is good. Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. So, yeah, I mean, listen, he sounds like he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's got a good understanding of the game. He's got a good understanding of his teammates already very quickly. You know, and he has brung that aspect to United. He is calm. He is collected. It's exactly what we need. The link to the defense is very important. It's absolutely what we need. Communication is important. I think there was a lack of communication and understanding between Onana and his back line. And that's why there's been so many fuck-ups. And that's why there isn't so much trust there. I think instantly, with the way Lemons, his own philosophy, the way he goalkeeps, the way he believes how the goalkeeping position should play, I think that's why you've already seen instantly how different it is. Because it is totally 100% different. There is a calmness back there. There is more trust. And it's because of the way how he envisions how the goalkeeper position should be played, you know, with the back line. So the response to being boring was class. Where was that part in the article? I missed it. So yeah, I don't know. I can't find that part. But let's to close out the show. And if anybody wants to get in any other topics, let me hit the Nottingham Forest. Yeah. So we're going to recap. I'm going to give my score predictions. You can give a score prediction as well. I'm just going to hit you with some, you know, streaks and stuff like that. So on the face of it, Manchester United, last 5 matches, we have 4 wins, 1 loss, 3 in a row right now. Nottingham Forest, they, in their last 5 matches, they have 1 draw and they have 4 L's in a row. Obviously, Sean Dyche coming in, though, and taking over. And he hasn't done a Premier League match yet, but he has done a match in Europe. And, he has done a Premier League match, but he's done a match in Europe and he's lost, and they lost this match. Head-to-head matches for Manchester United is that head-to-head matches for Manchester United. Last 10 matches, last 10 meetings between Forest and United. Forest have won 3 times. Manchester United have won 7 times. Manager head-to-head. Ruben and Dyche have only faced each other 1 time. Ruben has beaten Dyche, so Ruben is up 1-0 against Dyche on that. And then, if we get into sort of the more of the nitty-gritty, general team streaks. So this is not United versus Nottingham. This is just individually. Obviously, we are on a 3-game winning streak. 7 out of the 8 last matches we played, there have been 3+ goals. 4 out of the 5 last matches we have played, both teams have scored. 4 out of the 5 last matches we have played, we have scored first. 6 out of the 7 last matches that Nottingham Forest have played, they have conceded the first goal. That is a very, very good trend for us. We should look and hopefully we capitalize on that. We are away from home. I don't know why that just refreshed on me, but we are away from home. Hello? Okay, we are away from home. We have scored first 4 out of the 5 last matches we have played, and Nottingham have conceded first 6 out of the 7 last matches. That is absolutely, if we can capitalize on that, that's absolutely beautiful for us. And it's, it goes right into our game plan. Away from home, low block team, we get the first goal, we get it early, we make them come out and play, we make them play to us. We make them play to us. We hit them there. The match has to be totally different than their game plan that they set up. Their game plan is going to be to set up in a low block, make it very difficult for us to convert and create chances, frustrate us, counterattack us, set piece us, whatever it is. If we score the first goal and we scored as early as possible, game plan has to totally change from what they're going to set up to, and they're going to have to play to us, which is exactly what we need. Also, 4 out of the 5 last matches we've played, we have, been up in the first half, meaning that, when the first half ends, we are leading in the scoreline. So that's also another good indication for us right there in what we've been doing. Head-to-head streaks, there's not really any head-to-head streaks other than 4 out of the 5 last times that we've played each other, Nottingham Forest have scored the first goal. So there's a little bit of a contradiction there in terms of, when we've played each other, Nottingham Forest have scored the first goal. We need to make sure that doesn't happen this time. And if things are different, then we will score this first goal. It is very important for us to get this first goal in this match. It is going to dictate how this match plays out significantly. Now, obviously, last year, when Ruben came in, we ended up getting to January. That's when we played Forest. We lost 1-0 there. And we also lost July 12th, 2024. Oh, sorry, I'm reading this backwards. Wait, first 11, no, 11 for, okay, the date is backwards. Okay, so that was in, what is that, March? April 1st, we lost 1-0. And then December 7th, so when Ruben was here, we actually lost both games, yeah? We lost at home and we lost away. They did the double over us. We beat them in the FA Cup when Ten Hag was here, 1-0. But then also while Ten Hag was here, December 30th, 23, they beat us 2-1. And we beat them 3-2 in the first fixture ahead. So we do have to see. I want Stiller and Anderson. What do you think? Well, what do you think? I've been asking you for like weeks now. But I will. So I think based on this game, I mean, Race is 3-1 United. It's probably going to be something like that. Maybe 2-1 United. Maybe 2-1 United. I back us to go and get the first goal. We need the first goal. We need to score first. It is highly important that we score the first goal and that we don't let them score the first goal. If we concede the first goal, we're going to have a shit day at the office. Yeah? We're going to have a shit day at the office because it's going to play what we can't do and what we haven't done in the past 3 weeks. So I'm hoping that we continue this trend is we have stopped so far scoring, conceding shitty first goals, right? We scored. I mean, we conceded one at the goals that we conceded against Brighton. You don't want to see the team conceding it, but it was at a point where we were up 3. We made it nervous for ourselves. We let them back into the game, but good enough that we went back and we ended up killing it at the end. So, but yeah, we don't want to concede. We don't want to concede first against them. Possible lineups, predicted lineups. I mean, Forest are probably going to play some sort of a 4-2-3-1 of some sort with who they have available. This is the predicted lineup. Elliot Anderson hanging out in the midfield with Louise. Louise is one of their top players as well. Jesus is a top player for them, and Callum Hudson-Odoi. And Gibbs White is pretty good as well. We're obviously going to go with our 3-4-2-1. I think it's probably going to be pretty standard. Lemons, Euro, DeLitt, and Shaw. I think because Maguire is still questionable, so I don't know if he's going to be able to start. Diallo right wing back, Casemiro Bruno in the middle, Delo as left wing back, and Buemo Cunha, and then Sesko. Yeah, it says Maguire's out and Lisandro's out. So Lisandro is back on grass training, and he should be back. Hopefully, we'll see him in the squad for the Tottenham match. Gray says Forest will play a 3-5-2. They're going to match us. I mean, I could see that. I'm just looking at a predicted lineup here. I don't know what Daishi is. You know what? I could actually just look at what he played last time. So. I could just look at the last match he played against Bournemouth in the Premier League. They lined up in a 4-2-3-1. They lined up in a 4-2-3-1. So I guess that's why, or at least that's what they have here. That's what I'm saying. So, I guess that's why it's predicted for them to do that. So the last match that they played against Bournemouth, which was last week, 4-2-3-1, and the match that they played against Porto with Dyche in, he lined them up in a 4-2-3-1. So it seems like he's gone with a 4-2-3-1. Maybe it changes it for us. Maybe Grace is right, and they will play a 3-5-2. Maybe it plays like a 3-5-2 in a certain sense. But I'm seeing a 4-2-3-1 here, which is still very balanced formation. And listen, 4-2-3-1, I mean, you can literally turn it into, a 5-4-1 very easily on the pitch in the shape when you're out of possession. Have all these players drop back. Check games before that. Well, the reason why I'm not checking the games before that is because Dyche wasn't the manager before that. So, I'm just looking at what Dyche put in. I mean, Dyche wasn't the manager against Chelsea, and they played a 5-3-2 or a 3-5-2, whatever you want to call it. But Dyche wasn't the manager for Chelsea. Dyche was only the manager for Porto and for Bournemouth. So. That's why it is a bit hard to read, but I'm trying to go off of what Dyche would do. And before Dyche was there, they were playing like a 3-4-3. So, but out of the 2 matches that Dyche has been there for, he's played a 4-2-3-1. So he could very well play a 5-3-2 because I mean it is sort of the counter to our formation. I'll give you that. And he's only been there for 2 matches. So it's a bit hard to predict what he's kind of going to do. I mean, Ruben alluded to that, and even Jason Wilcox alluded to that. You know, like it is a bit hard to read kind of, you know, what they normally do, because he can change it up. He's only been there for 2 matches. He played a 4-2-3-1. He can end up playing a 5-3-2 against us. It is sort of a counter to us. You know, if we play a 3-5-2 and he plays a 5-3-2, it is the counter to our formation. So, Lawrence Berry says, I want Cruz and a Carrick, which some folks say could be Stiller and Anderson, respectively. Well, I think based on what Grace is saying here, Stiller and Anderson, I think Stiller is the replacement for Casemiro. I think Stiller is the 6 that ticks all the boxes in terms of sort of a deep line playmaker-ish player, very good at defense, but can also be progressive. He's not, listen, he ain't Cas, because there's only one Casemiro, yeah, but he does play in a similar way to him. And then you would say Anderson probably for the other side, but it depends, I guess, how much Anderson's going to be. Because Stiller, I think you can say we could get maybe for around 40 to 50 million, but Anderson is going to be like another Baleba or potentially like another Wharton, where he's going to cost you 100 million. So how much money are we going to have to spend, and how much money are we going to spend? It's always plausible. Listen, we bought 2 number 10s. Yeah, there's no reason why you couldn't say, well, we need to do the same what we did to the attack. We needed to do to the midfield, and we need to go buy two midfielders for sure. So, how much would you pay for Anderson max? Honestly, probably 60 million, because where's the probably 60 million, probably in that camp, 60, 70 million, something close to a figure of Embuemo or Cunha. But the problem is that I don't believe that Anderson has the same level of experience and consistency as Cunha and Embuemo have. So I would try to argue for it lower. I would use Cunha and Embuemo as sort of a benchmark, because we did pay a little bit extra for them, but they are more experienced. So I would kind of use it as a benchmark, in that sense. But I just don't think, I just feel like with Anderson, I just feel like with Anderson, only now people are talking about how good he is and how exciting he is. And I just feel, I kind of want to avoid one-offs. Yeah, I kind of want to avoid one-season wonders. And I'm not saying that he is sort of a one-season wonder, but I feel like he could be a one-season wonder. I mean, the hype that Elliot Anderson has is sort of the same hype that Evan Ferguson had. And look how that turned out for Evan Ferguson. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be spending 100 million on somebody that isn't have had this sort of hype or sort of consistency level of playing. Because again, I think he's been very hyped up this season. And I think some of it's carried on from last season, but nobody was talking about getting Elliot Anderson in the summer window we just passed in, like they're talking about getting Elliot Anderson now. So I would be a bit cautious in terms of paying 100 million. I think that's a bit crazy, considering the fact that we got players like Cunha. He did have a buyout clause, but players like Cunha and Embuemo for the price that we got, and then you're going to tell me, well, Elliot Anderson is about 30 million more expensive than them. So I would be remiss to do that deal. I don't think United should be doing that deal. I think United should be sticking to the laurels that they've been going down, and you aim for the ballpark of around 60 million. If you pay an extra 10 million over, it's an extra 10 million over. It's not the end of the world. But 10 million over is a lot different than paying 40 million over. You know what I mean? If you're aiming for players to be around the 60 million mark, if you pay 70 million for them, it's 10 million more expensive. But it's not, you're not paying 100 million. That's 40 million more expensive. If you do that for 2 or 3 players, we just spent an extra 80 million to 120 million extra for no reason on 3 players. That's another, how many players that is. So we got to be careful. We got to be careful there. Daesh 4-2-3-1. We will smash them. They are rubbish. 6 goals minimum. You think so, Grace? I mean, I would love it if we do that, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be a difficult game. I think the only way that the game is going to be easier for us and better for us is, again, we got to get that first goal, and we got to get it early. This is one of those matches. I kind of said last, when we played the Liverpool match, I didn't really want us to score that early. I probably made a mistake in that because I was a little bit fearful of, there was times when United get a goal early, and we kind of drop back and play like from a very scared standpoint. Now, in the Liverpool match, we didn't do that. We still had the game plan that we set out that it was always going to be. It helped us, though, and we did stay as positive as we could be when the opportunity was right. In this match, we definitely 110% need to score the first goal. And I think it would only benefit us if we score as early as possible. If we score in the first 5-10 minutes, I think it's beautiful for us. Because they can't sit in, they can't do their low block, really. They're going to be down at home. They need a win. They got to look for the win, and they're going to be pressured to come out more, and they're going to be pressured to get a result at home. Yeah. So number one thing that I'm looking for is United goes and gets a goal, especially as early as possible, but definitely in the first half. We need that. We need that for sure. Grace says 2 midfielders, 100 million max for both. Lawrence Burry says, I think Stiller and Anderson will both even out at 65, 70 million each. Well, if you could do that, then yeah, I listen, I think Stiller, he has the release clause, yeah? He's somewhere around that price, 45, 50, something like that, which again, I think is reasonable. When you do deals around that, I think it's reasonable for today. That's pretty much like the average price, and I think that's okay because, again, if you sign players for that amount, if you have him here for 1-2 years, it doesn't really work out. You're not going to lose a shit ton of money. It's all about making sure that the club mitigates as much risk as possible while still taking risk, because we have to take risks. We're not going to go anywhere without taking risks, yeah? But we have to take calculated, well-calculated risks. There's a difference between taking a risk and signing Stiller for 60 million and going and signing some dude somewhere for 140 million because they tell you he's the next Andrea Pirlo or some shit. So, you could get Stiller in. Maybe Stiller doesn't work. Maybe Stiller wasn't the correct buy. We will find out in 2 years from that time. You get him for 60 million, maybe you get him out for 40. We lose minimal and we move on. And that's how the club should always be operating. We weren't operating like that in the past, and we're suffering now because of it, but we are trying to change that course. And we've done well. So, if Anderson is worth 100 million, Delow is worth 250 million. What do you think will happen when we have Shaw, Martinez, Heaven available together? I'm so glad you brought that up, Grace. This is why I love having you around, because you do ask excellent questions, and you do make excellent points. And I love how you, I thought of asking that question before I started the show. And when I got into the show, I started saying 1,040 different things, and I totally forgot about it. So I'm so glad you bring that up, because I was actually going to ask. And to anybody in the chat, to anybody watching, I would like your opinions as well, because it is sort of a conundrum. I was thinking about this today. What do you think is going to happen when we do have Shaw, Martinez, and Heaven? Because I've seen some people putting up sort of predicted, I don't know, lineups or whatever you want to call them, of that, this even goes into Dorgu, and it even goes into Delow, because right now Delow is playing and he's starting as the left wing back, and he's starting over Dorgu. when Martinez comes back, Martinez is the left-footed left center back. I think nothing necessarily happens to Heaven because Heaven is just a sub already. So I think Heaven kind of just stays as the sub. But then you have, I think the bigger dilemma is, well, now you have Martinez and then there's Shaw. And Shaw has been starting at left center back. And I think many people would say, well, if the Butcher is the Butcher and he returns to being the Butcher and, you know, he's up to speed, we're obviously going to prefer Lisandro Martinez over Luke Shaw playing there. So you would bring in Lisandro in there. I think many people would say Lisandro Martinez, Mateus de Ligt, Lenny Yoro, starting back line in the center backs. Then you got to look at it and say, well, now there is Dorgu there. There is Delo floating around. And then you have Luke Shaw. And then we have Heaven. And then there's Mazawari. Again, I like that there's many options. I think Ruben enjoys that there's many options. You can mixy-matchy all you want with those guys. You can have Shaw still continue to be a sub for left center back. You can make Shaw start at left wing back. You can have Shaw, you know, be the sub for left wing back or be the sub for left center back. You can then get Mazawari and he can be a sub for one of the center backs. He can play wing back. You then have Delo, and Delo can still continue to play on the left if that's what they so choose and please. He can be on the right, but then there's Diallo, and again, I think Diallo is our best wing back we have. So, you gotta beat him out in competition to get that spot. There's a lot of different options. I don't know what we're going to do. Belial says Leach, Heaven, Shaw in that order. And that's kind of what I say. But I think, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what Ruben Amorim really thinks of Luke Shaw. Because, again, in some circumstances at this football club, he's got to use who he's got to use when you're down for a little bit amount, when you're down in a little bit of options, yeah? Because right now he's down in a little bit of options. And again, whether you agree with it or not, and we've been burnt here before with using the experienced players, but Ruben has clearly gone, and I guess Ruben and Wilcox together have clearly gone with the way of using the experienced players over the younger players, yeah? You see that all over the place. You know, we could be playing Heaven, but Luke Shaw is the one that's been starting. You could use Kobe Mainu, but he's gone with Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes. Amongst some other places. So, I don't know. Delo can play every position, says Grace, and send Shaw in a box to China. Well, he's not going to go anywhere specifically, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see who he actually really rates the most when you have all the options available. Because Maz hasn't been fully available, yeah? And obviously Martinez hasn't been available. And you're going to have all these options. It's going to be interesting to see what he does. Because right now, even so, I mean, Delo, like, he hasn't been playing the best, but Dorgu hasn't been playing good, and I would say that Delo has been is better than Dorgu, and I'd probably prefer to have Delo starting over Dorgu right now on the left-hand side. But if you get Martinez back and Shaw is back as an option, it's going to be interesting to see if he is going to ever play Luke Shaw as left wing back again. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just says, nope, Luke Shaw is a center back now. That's what he's been converted to. You know, it's better for his body. He's less injury. He's more injury free playing at left center back because he doesn't have to do all that running up and down. So it's less fatigue on his body. So that is his new position. If that's the case, you know, then you just have Dorgu. And then I guess you go between Dorgu and Delo on left wing back and right wing back, Diallo and potentially Mazawari. But Mazawari did feature as a center back quite a lot, and I do like him there. I think he plays that position quite exceptional. So I don't know. Maybe for some games you just switch it around. Maybe just, you know, depending on the opponent. Maybe it's not necessarily set in stone. Maybe it's more about, who we play against. Who is the opposition? What kind of team do they got? And what is the game or the match calling for? So, Delo deserves Ballon d'Or. He does not, Grace. Come on. Come on. Listen, he can do more. He's doing all right. He's doing all right. He's doing all right. But I would say in some of the matches, he hasn't played particularly well. But I would also say that some of in those games, the team didn't play particularly well as well. So, I would say he's doing all right to start right now. In terms of that, when I look at it, I will tell you, he ain't doing a better job than Diallo. So Diallo gets to hold down that right-hand spot. But when you look at the competition, if I'm looking between him and Dorgu, well, Dorgu has been way worse than Delo. Like, way worse. So, and this is what I'm trying to say. Like, people could get on Delo's back because there's people at our football club that really hate Delo. I think Delo is a decently good player to have. But Delo, when you look at it in the competition, Delo versus Dorgu, Dorgu's been way worse. So Delo gets in over Dorgu as of right now every day of the week. So these people that ultimately they hate Diego Delo no matter what, and they want him removed from the football club because there is many of them out there that don't rate him and think he's bad. I'm not one of those people. I'm just fair-handed. He can do better. I think he's a good guy to have in the squad because he has a good mentality, good attitude. He's generally usually always fit. I think there's more to his game. I'd like him to step it up a bit more. I've seen him play better for this football club, so I know that he can do more. But even in that context, he's doing more than Dorgu, and he's better than Dorgu right now, so he should be starting over. So nobody's bullying him, and nobody's scapegoating him. That's not true, Grace. That's not true. Well, I'm not bullying him. I'm being real. I'm being real. He can do better. I know he can do better, and it's coming from a place of love, and it's not coming from a place of hate. I rate him, but he can do better, but he's not doing horrible, because I would say that Dorgu is doing horrible. And he's not as bad as Dorgu, but I don't think he's doing as good as Amad Diallo, who I think is our best wingback and is performing in the position the best out of everybody. So I think Delo can take it to another level. I think he needs to. But he hasn't done it yet. But he's doing all right. And I would continue to start him so far right now on the left over Dorgu unless Dorgu does something, good. Like McTominay, you all bullied him out of the club, and he was my second favorite player. Well, I don't know if I would say that I bullied him out of the club, but I did not rate the job that he was doing at Manchester United. So, and he left not because the fans pushed him out of the club. He left because they sold him. I mean, they deemed him surplus to requirements, or they deemed him as somebody that they could sell for cash so that they could get in a transfer for their team. So, I mean, I wouldn't really agree with that, Grace. I don't think we didn't like him. He had a lot of sort of hate towards him and pressure on him, but I don't think that's ultimately why he's not at the football club anymore. I think ultimately, again, I've said this before, he's not at the football club because he was not a holding midfielder, and he wasn't so great as a box-to-box when we used him in the Premier League. And he was most impactful in and around the box. And at that time, playing a 4-2-3-1, that's Bruno's position, and nobody's going to play McTominay over Bruno Fernandes. So, I mean, that's why he's gone. But we're not saying anything bad. I'm not, I'm not sitting here, and I don't think anybody's sitting here saying Delo is shit and get him out of my football club. I don't believe I said those words. So I'm just giving the guy a little bit of constructive criticism because I know that he can do better. I've seen him do better. I've seen him perform quite exceptionally well. I don't think he's hitting that level right now, but he can definitely do better. He was a 10, but got bullied because he couldn't do the job of a Rodri.
Well, yeah, and there was a problem probably by the club, but again, that's why I think that I think that's why that means that he had to leave Grace, unfortunately, because we needed somebody in that position to kind of do that job. He clearly couldn't do it, so he had to go. You know what I mean? Um, he had to go because he just wasn't. He wasn't really going to play. The way I look at it, I mean, if you come to the determination that he is a 10 and that's where he needs to play, and you don't want to play him out of position, at what time would he get the game time to play over Bruno Fernandes? He's just, at that time, he's just not going to get it. Bruno doesn't get subbed. I mean, now maybe Ruben subs him a little bit, but all the ones who said Delo needs to get out have all been dealt with. Well, that's why they're not here commenting and saying get Delo out. You know what I mean? So again, I like Diego Delo in terms of that. I do think that I talk many times about the characteristics of a player. I think if you look at Delo, I think he has the right attitude. I think he has the right mentality. He loves Cristiano Ronaldo. He tries to model himself in terms of taking care of his body and being fully dedicated after Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, I think that's a good mentality to have. I think it's important part to have in your squad. That's why I rate him. Like these people out there, and I see them all over the place. They say Delo is absolutely shit, and they want him out of the football club because he's not considered a world class wingback. Yeah, and I get that maybe you might need somebody that fits the role a little bit better, but I'm not in the camp of discarding players that have something there about them to work with. And I think there is something there to work with Delo. I'm a bit disappointed in his. It's not his fault. I think it's more of the club's fault. I'm a bit disappointed in his development in terms of I always felt like when we signed him, when he first came in, and me knowing the Portuguese league and we got him from Porto and me watching him play there, he had sort of a knack for being sort of more attacking, more goal driven, shooting wise. And I don't think the club have done a very good job to try and bring that more out of him, which is disappointing because I always felt like he could become sort of an actual very good wingback where he can score you some goals. Like actually somebody that is a wingback that can actually score you some goals. But we never we never played like that and we didn't develop him like that. And I don't know if you could develop him into doing it now because he's much older. But for a guy that's a right-footed right back player and playing on the left-hand side, he's doing fine. So he can definitely go up more, but Delo is better than that bum in Saudi. Who's that? Who went to Saudi? Who's gone up in the world in the last 6 seasons? I don't know. You know what it is, Grace? I don't really know what they want, though. These people that criticize and say that, like, we need somebody that's world class. Like, what are they exactly looking for? Because again, he has a good heart rate. He has a good work rate. He's basically never injured. He has a good attitude and a good mentality. He has. Listen, when he's not hitting peak form, he has decently good ability, yeah? And I just find hard to look at other places in his position and say, yeah, that guy is world class and he's level above the low. I don't even think the wingback position is one that is actually oozing with people that I would consider world class. I feel like a lot of the wingbacks are fairly average. Like, I don't think there's anybody that really stands out in my mind that is just like, look at how special they are. I don't really see it. In fact, so much so that our winger is the best wingback we got, and that's because he's good at attacking. Ronaldo, she says. Elias says McTominay wouldn't have survived the Eric Ten Hag sacking period in Amorim's experimental phase. Perhaps he would have done well in Amorim's system, but his move to Napoli was needed. Yeah, that's another thing too. You know, we never know. I mean, if he didn't go and Ten Hag got sacked, which he did, and Ruben came in, I mean, maybe it would have been different. But things happen, and you know, we don't have control over these things, unfortunately. So, oh, you were talking about Ronaldo. Delo is playing left wing back. What do you expect him to do playing out of position? How can he really improve? Well, it's the little things, Grace, I would say. It's not so much, again, for me, specifically, Grace, he doesn't got to be Roberto Carlos. He doesn't got to be the most exceptional wing back you've ever seen in my life. What I'd want him to specifically do is just clean up his game a little bit, be a little bit more tidy. There's been times in the game where I noticed where he is a little bit off. He's a little bit off, like trapping the ball, not losing the ball in certain areas in the pitch. I think he's been a little bit sloppy in that area. That's what I want. I just want him to clean the game up a little bit. I think otherwise he's been all right. Like, he's been totally fine. Like, I understand he's playing on the left-hand side and he's a right-sided player. I think, for me personally, my expectations of him, I would like to just for him to clean up his game a little bit more. You know, in the Brighton match, there was a couple instances where the ball went to him and he failed to trap it cleanly or whatever. You know, the same that happened to Bruno in the match, in the Liverpool match, where he did seem a bit off of it, like he wasn't fully there, you know, like the balls were sliding right past him, he was failing to trap them. Those things, I would like all the players to clean that up. They need to clean it up. But I've noticed it in Delo's game a little bit more in recent times. I don't know. I just want him to be like fully on top of his game, yeah? Where everything he does in terms of like touches and decision making comes off with like pure confidence, that like he knows in himself that he's rest assured that he's, you know, he's making the right touch. He's fully focused. Sometimes I feel like there's maybe a little a lapse of concentration in him right now. So that's all. But I'm not talking about crosses. I'm just talking about in general. Like, I've seen him receive the ball and him being a little bit sloppy with it in terms of trapping the ball, taking a good first touch. I understand on that side, obviously, him being a right-footed player, how is he going to put the crosses in? He's not really a left-footed player. If he puts it in with his left, it's his weaker foot. If he puts it in with his right, it's a weird angle. It's hard. I know that because I used to play not as a defender, but I used to play as a winger. So it's a bit similar because he's a wing back. So I used to play as a winger. I'm right-footed. I used to play on the left. So I understand that it's a bit difficult on that side. You can make it happen. But I used to choose to play on that side because I actually preferred, because I actually liked the German cross. I actually liked to cut in from the weird angle and cut in on my right foot and put it into the back post area. I liked that. So I liked to cut in. Even if I got on the side of the box, I would like to. It probably made my life more difficult because I couldn't send it early, but I would like to get on the side of the box, turn sideways, face the defender, take him on, and put in a cross on my right foot. People react differently if Delo makes a mistake to someone they rate. Well, I think they do that for all players, Grace. And that's because people have biases. I try not to have biases. I try to very be team oriented, and I try to be not player FC. But I do agree. There are people that they do treat players differently because they might just not like the look of Delo. They might just not like the style in which he plays. They don't rate him. And they will let shit go for a player that they do rate. I mean, that's just football, I guess, at some certain level. I mean, people are always like that, and it always happens. It always happens, you know, with all different types of players. There's all different types of examples for that. So I mean, you just gotta take it and just stick by your guy and back him up when the need is to back him up. I mean, you know, you're always gonna get people out there that are very, I don't know. I don't even know what to call them, but if Delo played right center back, he wouldn't get as much hate. Well, I think the emphasis is more on so because the wing back is an important position in this system, and it helps with the attack. And I think that's why people are probably jumping up on him, and they're more than they are jumping on any other player. Because again, like with Diallo, considering he's an attacking player and is a winger, I don't know if we should be putting as maybe the amount of crosses we're saying we should see, and Diallo is not. I mean, nobody in our squad is really that amazing at crossing, but Diallo does have the knack, because he's an attacking player, to have more of a. He gives more of a threatening presence when he goes forward with the ball and something to happen. Delo is obviously a defensive player, so first, attacker second, so it's different. But I think people are getting on Delo's back because they want him to be like Trent or something, where it's just like he puts in these crosses, he scores goals, and he's like attacking first, defensive second. But that's not who he is. And I don't even know if Ruben Amorim necessarily wants that, because right now the way he's got it balanced out is he's got one player that's more defensive, attack second, and he's got one player that's more attack, defense second. So I don't even think Ruben necessarily wants two full-blown attack first, defense second. So I think it's fine. I mean, Ruben rates him. Ruben probably is going to keep picking him. And people can think of what they want. So I don't think it's inverted, though, Grays. I don't think it's inverted. I don't think he necessarily wants an inverted. I think what's happening right now is that Delo is playing there because, again, Diallo is playing fine and he's doing his job. I think the problem that we have right now in the squad is not that Ruben wants to do inverted. I think what's happening is, again, if you look at Delo and you look at Dorgu, I think Delo's performances are better than Dorgu. And the problem that we have is we don't have an option on the left. Like, if Dorgu is not doing good enough, who do we put in for Dorgu besides Delo? Because Ahmad plays very good on the right. And again, I think Ahmad is the best wingback we have. And Ahmad has always played on the right as a winger. So, and if Ahmad's playing well there, there's no reason to touch that side to put him on the other side. So, the reason why Delo is playing there right now is because he's probably the best option we got. We don't have. I mean, just play Ahmad and Dorgu left. But is Ahmad a left-footed player? Is he a left-footed player? He is a left-footed player. Well, I don't know. Maybe Ahmad's good with both his feet. Just play Ahmad and Dorgu left and Delo and Maz on the right. But I actually think that but you know what then? But also on that side, you got Mbeumo there, yeah? And I think the chemistry between Mbeumo and Ahmad are very good. I wouldn't disrupt that. I wouldn't disrupt that. I think the understanding between them is very good. And also, even the ability for Ahmad to cut inside and sort of be inverted, I think bodes very well. That dynamic on that right-hand side with Mbeumo being the inside 10 and coming out to the wing, and Diallo being able to go inside when he needs to, but then also going on the outside when he needs to, I think works very well. The left-hand side is sort of the issue. The left-hand side is sort of the issue. Ahmad and Mbeumo, yes, please. Yeah, I think you don't want to touch that. I think that chemistry is very, very good. That understanding is very, very good. You don't want to touch that. What you need to do is figure out the left-hand side. And Delo, he's the only answer really for it. I think it's the best possible thing. I think it's the best thing, because if you take Ahmad and you put him on the left, you're missing the Mbeumo link. Ahmad's always played on the right anyway. He's always played on the right. And I don't think you're going to get the same chemistry with Diallo and Cunha that you're going to get with Diallo and Mbeumo. So you don't want to change that side. The problem is your left-hand side. The problem is the left-hand. How do you get the left-hand side to work? Well, I mean, Delo is Portuguese. Cunha is Brazilian. They speak the same language. And Delo is just more experienced. Like, he has more Premier League experience. He has more Manchester United experience. So you got to play him on the left to cover Dorgu, because Dorgu isn't playing well, and Dorgu has only been here from about a little bit. He's not even here for a year yet, because we signed him in January. Yeah, and that's really the only option we got. Maz, I wouldn't play on the left ever. He would be a shout for the right, and even then, I still prefer him center back over wing back. So we're all lucky we play a formation where we can play both Ahmad and Mbeumo. Well, I think it is a massive positive. I mean, they are very, very good to each other. I like the dynamic. They have a very good understanding with each other. And if you think back to the past, remember sort of like when we were in a spot where it was like Luke Shaw and Rashford on that left-hand side, and they had a very good understanding with each other, and the left-hand side was the strongest side that we had, and the right-hand side was dead, and we used to complain that, you know, we need to sign a right winger because the right wing is dead, and there's just nothing on the right wing, and we always go down the left-hand side. Well, the right-hand side is very, very strong now. The left-hand side, it's not dead like how the right-hand side used to be, but it's not as strong as it once used to be. So we got to find some sort of a partnership there. And I think while Delo, you know, is a right-footed player and he'd be playing on the left-hand side, you could maybe possibly get a better understanding between Delo and Cunha over there than somebody else. They should have sort of a similar culture to each other, and maybe that leads to a better understanding, which leads to better play on the pitch. I don't know. You miss Garnacho. He was your favorite player. Well, that's all right. I mean, you're allowed to miss him, and he's allowed to be your favorite player, just like as I'm allowed to not miss him, and I don't really miss him, and I'm okay with the fact that he's gone, which is funny because at one point I was not okay with him going, but for me, that's just how I am. I felt like I don't like what he did, and therefore he's fallen out of favor with me, and that's it. That's just what it takes for me. It doesn't. I am more than willing to give people opportunities and chances. I did not bully him, Grace. I did not bully him. What is bullying? Define bullying. I did not bully him because Alejandro Garnacho did not hear one single word I've ever said in my life. Because he doesn't watch this channel. So I can't even bully him, even if I tried to bully him. And Grace Gracie's not your favorite player because Delo is your favorite player. So the dog is going crazy because there's trick-or-treaters at the door. Let me just pull up this real quick. Grace is having a laugh. She's trying to get under my skin. But you know what? She brings up good talking points anyway, so she brings up good stuff that I can bounce back off of, yeah? Because even if she's joking, and even if she's just, you know, doing things for banter, there are people out there in the world that actually believe and think like that, and say things like that. So no news for United on Conor Gallagher. Fabrizio Romano an hour ago. Conor Gallagher is an option for Manchester United in January in a potential loan deal. Any move depends on Atletico Madrid, so we still got to wait and see for that one. Ruben Amorim has said that he wants to win every game and finish top of the league. He also said, I could not care less about being up in front of Liverpool. I just want to win every game and finish top of the league. I want to be in that position to be the champions of the Premier League. Which, I mean, is kind of the same thing in a certain way because it's kind of the same thing because, I mean, if we do win every game and we finish on top of the league, we will be up in front of Liverpool. So it's just on a bigger scale, yeah? So I get it. Fabrizio Romano on Lucas Paqueta and Conor Gallagher for Manchester United. At the moment, I'm not aware of concrete or advanced negotiations between Paqueta and Manchester United or Manchester United and West Ham. Conor Gallagher remains an option. In case Atletico Madrid decide to open the doors to a loan move, Gallagher is one of the names they've got in case there could be an opportunity on loan, like a typical January deal. It will depend on what Simeone and the board decide to do with Conor Gallagher. Somebody called Eric Ten Hag 10 Latin. I wonder who that was. Will Conor Gallagher be my next victim? I don't have victims. They are products of themselves, yeah? I do nothing to none of these players. You either perform at this football club or you don't perform. But that's solely on them. I don't have victims. I'm totally okay with Conor Gallagher coming in here. I think he has a specific style to his game that can benefit us, that can work in Ruben Amorim's system. It depends what the plan is for Ruben Amorim, specifically what he wants to do with that midfield. But Conor Gallagher, one of parts of his game is that he is very good at tackling defensively and offensively. He has a high tackle succession rate offensively. He's good in the press, which is on paper works well with what we have. So he's going to come in on a loan. If he does well, I'm going to be very happy with him. If he plays like shit, then I'm just going to say that he doesn't need to be at this football club. Plain and simple. Why did you kick a boot at Beckham's face? Well, he wouldn't listen to me. And I got very angry. And I meant to kick it at him, but not at his face, yeah? Because, I mean, the pretty face, dude, you know, that's like the number one prize. He had that face. You don't touch the face. It was an accident. I meant to kick it at him. I meant to kick it at his legs. But I just have too much skill and too much ability that without even trying, I put it top bins and I hit him in the face. So, which then I tried to apologize, but he was a bit of a baby about it. He was. But you know what? He was still a young guy at the time. But, you know, we've gotten over it now. I'm older. He's older. We put it past us, and you know, we're okay now. We're okay. We laugh about it. We laugh about it over a cup of tea, some biscuits. Yeah, it was a good time. And Laden, that's horrible. You can't kick a ball. I could kick a ball. Oh, I could kick a ball. I wish I had film. I don't have film. I'd bring it just to prove Grace wrong. I could kick a ball. I was double champion of the crossbar challenge in my high school. Yeah? double champion, back-to-back, undefeated. Crossbar challenge. I modeled my game against many players, yeah? Paul Scholes, a little bit of Chicharito in there, a little bit of Giggsy. Although I wasn't as quick as Giggs, unfortunately, but a little bit of Giggsy, a little bit of Rooney. I will be on the pitch. I do pick up the responsibility of whatever I see on the pitch. I will defend if I have to. I will track and I will mark the player that's not my responsibility that's left open by my teammate. I wasn't a great goal scorer, though, yeah? I wasn't a great goal scorer, but I was good at crossing. I was good at crossing the ball. I was good at passing the ball. I was. Sky Sports, Arnie Slot remains defiant on playing style. Oh, how the turntables. Wow, wow. Blabbering is a word, by the way. I think they call it, I think they call it waffling, Grace. I think they call it waffling. Am I correct in that? I think they call it waffling. I should stop waffling. Simon Stone here saying Ruben Amorim, if he ever thought he wouldn't reach a year in charge of Manchester United. And he said, I had some moments that I struggled a lot, and I was thinking that maybe it's not meant to be. Today is the opposite. Today I feel that, and I know that was the best decision in my life, and I want to be here. Well, I'm glad you want to be here because I want you to be here too, and hopefully you succeed. So stop bullying Arnie Slot Laden. No, we bully him. We don't care about him. Bully him every day. Bully him every minute. Listen, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. It was a good show. I'm starving. I need to go eat, and I gotta go do things as well. So happy Halloween to all of you. Shout out to all of you. Love it. Waffling is a better word, better than word salads. Yeah. I like waffling. I like some of the UK slang. You guys make up some good words, terms, slang, terminology. You do have I do like those. You have a few out there. They just sound better. They vibe better. Yeah. I got a couple British friends as well. So I do pick up on them from time to time. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I like that. Amorim bullied Rashford. He was my favorite player. Well, we'll see you at Barcelona then. I guess I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, Eric waffles all the time. That's all right. I don't see a problem waffling. I don't see a problem waffling. I don't understand why people get hate on waffling. No, I like to waffle. Call me the waffler. Thanks for the show, Eric. Enjoy the rest of your Halloween and be nice to the trick-or-treaters. I will, unless one of them comes in the Liverpool kit. If they come in a Liverpool kit, I'm scaring the shit out of them. And I'm going to chase them down the block. Yeah, I'm going to run after them. I'm going to chase them down the street. And to do that, all I got to do is put in an Arnie Slot mask. And then just run after them. Yeah. So, I appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thank you for being involved in the show. Thank you for taking your time. Thank you for supporting. Please make sure you hit the like button on the way out if you didn't hit the like button. We are at 10 likes, I see. But those are greatly appreciated. And listen, we're going to be live. Make sure you're here. I want everybody here. I want everybody involved. Make sure you're here after the match against Nottingham Forest. I'm going with a 2-1 win to Manchester United. And I'm going to go deep into the predictions now. I say Mbeumo scores a goal. And I say Sesko gets a goal. I say Sesko gets a goal in this match. So Mbeumo, Sesko to score. United score first. Maybe Forest tie it, and then we get the winner. That's what I'm going with. United 2-1. Grace says I'd look better in an Arnie Slot mask. I don't know. Hair is best. Bald is fraud. Yeah. So I don't know. But yeah, we will be live after the match, so make sure you are there. and just be on alert for when I put up the show. And yeah. Other than that, have a good night. Enjoy your Fridays. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll speak tomorrow. And we'll review the match together. And then obviously Sunday's day off. And we'll restart all over again on the next week. So, by the way, just real quick, I am working on... Oh, other side. This. I am working on a new logo. New and improved. Similar sort of theme, but it's just going to look much better. Yeah, more 3D-ish. And also, I've decided that I've added a tagline to our... I am waffling. I'm just letting you know what's going on. I've added a tagline to it as well. It's more of a Mew then. No, more of a devil. It's more of a devil. More of a devil. But yeah, I've updated it. I'm just trying to get it perfected because it's a bit pain in the ass for the way I want it to get. But I've added a nice I guess motto you can say. So Voices of the Faithful is all I'm gonna say. Yeah, Voices of the Faithful. Voices of the Faithful. I like that. I think it represents our channel quite well. So, Voices of the Faithful. The Red Devil Experience, Voices of the Faithful. I like that. I like that very much. It's going to be part of the graphic. I'm going to get that graphic up. I'm going to have to figure out how to replace this, though. Because this is one thing. Yeah, this thing up in the corner here. This thing. It's one thing. So, I got to recode it and stuff. But you'll be seeing that soon. And then, maybe after the match tomorrow, after we do the live at some point, I'll try and work on the call-in and get that set up and ready to go. So, other than that, I'll see you guys Saturday. Enjoy. Have a good night. Be good. Good night. Thank you for the support. Love you guys. Stay safe.